Hi loves, welcome back to Kara's Love Techniques. So today we are talking about why Black people are less likely to marry today. Okay, so I know I did a recent video talking about Black love and the lack of a family dynamic, and I was basically just talking about Black love. But for this particular video, I really want to focus on what those concerns really are so we have a better understanding of why we are becoming divided, the Black man and the Black woman. Okay, so let's get started. So statistically, it shows that only 2 out of 3 Black women will marry, and if so, it would be much later on in life. As for the Black man, well, 70% of them may have already married and are less likely to marry again. Now, that was based on a census 10 years ago. All right. Today, it's quite different, and I'll try to post that there so you can get a visual of it. So, why is that? Why are other races far more likely to marry and, I won't say be successful at it, but remain in their marriages for quite some time? Okay, so I believe, here's what I believe. So when it comes to our Black women, over time we have advanced, we've evolved. Economically, Black women are far more financially stable, self-sufficient, and very capable of maintaining a household as well as providing the necessary income by any means necessary. And because of that, we've now advanced ourselves. We've morphed somehow many Black women into alpha females. Now, and that could be seen as someone who may not be able to balance the work-life, have that work-life balance, as well as even keep their relationship intact, be present when needed. So for the Black man, he sees that as, quite challenging. Can she really, be able to balance all of that? Are Black women now dutiful? Are they seen as the wifey type? Are we wifey potential? Again, we've advanced in our physiques, our outward appearance, and so it may not give housewife vibes, if you know what I mean. Yes, and so there has been quite a number of changes since earlier years, like earlier times, back in like the 60s and 70s, where women were more likely to have the opportunity to at least be proposed to because they came off as gentle and inviting. Okay, and I think another major issue as of the past recent decade is the whole Black woman empowerment. There's a lot of that going on, even with the most recent movie. I haven't seen it, but there's a lot of that going on. And so what it seems like from the outside, perhaps by our Black men, is that we are finding a number of ways to exclude them. And I get it, and I've even heard this in some of Black conversations, that Black men are beginning to feel excluded. And then you now have woman and woman households, that whole sort of thing. So those are some of the main reasons why we are being divided from our Black men. Now, when it comes to the Black man, well, long ago, Black men were actually very encouraged to marry at a very young age, in which they did. Like, most of them would marry, hell, way before their brains were even fully developed. And by the age of 23, they would have a wife and multiple children. Of course, those family dynamics may not have lasted very long for obvious reasons, but at least there was an attempt. You understand? As of now, Many of our black men may have married or how even thought about it, being engaged, and it somehow was unsuccessful. Because of that, they're far less likely, unless of course he's like a hopeless romantic and just believe in being committed or may have some committal issues. But for the most part, most black men are less likely to marry twice. And one of the main reasons for that is because, well, of heartbreak. To experience that level of disappointment and hurt and not know how to cope or deal with it can be quite traumatizing for any man per se, but for the black man, it could put them in a position to where, hey, I never want to endure that again. And so as a result, we find our black men just casually dating or just not even investing in black women any longer because they just may not see the reason to do so. You know, they're feeling excluded. And again, they may not have that, they may not value women as though they once did. You understand? May not see them as wifey and dutiful, submissive, whatever their preferences are. They may not see that any longer. And that promotes a hindrance in just trying to pursue a black woman. Okay. Furthermore, I was listening to a discussion the other day, a black discussion about the family dynamic, and someone brought up a valid point, and I thought it was very clever, of how some black men, not all, some black men are just simply are not leaders, and they probably should not marry because the ones that do, well, they may not know how to navigate through those challenging times, like endure certain rough spots. You know, they're going to come about. It's inevitable. You know, so they may be they may have that private mentality, whereas, hey, if there was a sergeant major, they would have already devised a contingency plan and ready to execute when you know the problem arises, right? But that's not the case. What's happening is a lot of these men are marrying because, of course, they love their person and they probably want to be with them for a very long time. But in all actuality, well, they may not have that leadership ability, you know, that strength. And one thing about life is it has a way of shining the spotlight on all of your strengths as well as your weaknesses. And when that happens, if you're not strong enough and you're struggling with your confidence, eventually your confidence will begin to chip away. As a result, you may not be able to strong enough to bounce back for that. And before you know it, you're getting a divorce. You know, wife, you may have woken up one day and had an epiphany and just came to the realization that she married a grown boy. You understand? And for the man, it may be vice versa as well. He may have woken up and thought he married someone who was mature enough and just had the mindset to be in that sort of position where it backfired. It was the complete opposite. So it's a lot of that going on. We're becoming divided. We're not knowing how to get back. It's quite challenging. And one of the primary reasons for that is well, if you were not taught at the early stages of learning, if you did not see that love and affection from your parents or your guardian, like consistently throughout their marriage, you know, a healthy environment, if you did not experience that, where you are far more likely to fail. So you have to see it. You have to be in that presence and then want that exact same level of a relationship. You understand? So that it will be conducive to forever. So those love actions have to actually affect the relationship, the marriage, to a point to where it is going to be on solid foundation. And that's not what's happening. You know, we're finding ourselves marrying for all the wrong reasons, multiple reasons, versus focusing on their union, their bond, you know, the connection, keeping that tight and not allowing finances and debt and mortgages and payments, all of these extras to come between, because that's typically what happens. Am I wrong? Okay. But yeah, so, and then we look at our millennials. So many of our millennials, they're not even really focused on marriage. So they're going to, and they're getting their higher education. They're just trying to get the bag. They're casually dating without a purpose. You know, they really don't even understand their emotions enough to even want to pursue something so serious. Whereas long ago, decades ago, you know, 17 to 18 year olds were ready to get married. They had that mindset. Now it's the complete opposite. Everyone's afraid because there's a lot of mind games and shenanigans. And sadly enough, this seems like this is going to be the way of our future. Like, will we ever get back to having Black families? All right. So that's that for the most part. Here is the takeaway from this whole narrative, right? So we have our Black men going in one direction and Black women going in the other. Why? They're taking alternate routes. And I believe the reason for that is because there's a lot of noise going on in between them. A lot of negative activity, narratives, all of this extra, right? This keeping us apart. But what it is we really want, I believe, is to actually come back together. And forget about that, you know. Many men are going to be homosexuals or closet, and women are going to be with their women, and we're becoming greatly divided in seems like every aspect. But I think we really want to come back together. It's just going to be quite challenging to do so as long as we have all of these negative narratives hindering us. Okay? So, I mean, all we really can do, guys, if you are trying to be married and you're afraid, you know, hell, you should be. It's a major step. Honestly, marriages can be quite simple. It is humans that find a way to complicate them. All right? So that's just my perspective on why we're marrying less. It's just that there's just a lot going on. We're advancing, we're changing our minds. We are ever changing as people anyway, so that within itself is complicated. Okay? All right, guys. Hopefully this has been somewhat informative for you. Give me your thoughts or just simply like the video. But I thank you for joining me always. That is all for now. Until next time.